Sorry about that, Danya. some spam tried to call me and it automatically ended my video. So here we go. So number 6, I got 0.3844. I rounded out 4 decimal places. Okay. And then cosine inverse of a fourth. Well, so I'm just going to type, and a fourth is 0.25, so second cosine of 0.25. I don't need to drop a reference triangle because I'm not trying to evaluate anything. I'm just finding, well, I am evaluating that, but I'm not trying to like do the double evaluation like I am over here. So 1.3181. Do-do-do. Okay. Cosine of sine inverse of square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so remember to start on the inside and work your way out. So we first need to figure out where is this angle at. So remember, sine is in the right side of the graph, so the left is x'd out. And sine is positive, so that means we're up in the first quadrant. So we're not going to be down in that fourth quadrant. And when the sine is square root of 2 over 2, that means the cosine is square root of 2 over 2, because this is a 45-degree angle. It's pi over 4. So this is really cosine of pi over 4. Well, the cosine is the x value, and the x value of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so that's number 9. Number 8. Number 9, we're finding the arc cosine of the sine of 4 pi over 3. Okay, well, where in the world is pi over 3? That's what we have to look at, or 4 pi over 3. So remember, we're trying to work inside out. So in our unit circle, we're going to look for 4 pi over 3 in the first or fourth quadrant. And 4 pi over 3, so it goes pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 6. 4 pi over 3 is in this quadrant, right? Yeah, so, sorry, we're not doing that yet. Sine of 4 pi over 3. It helps if I look at the unit circle. Sorry, I got stumped for a second. Sine of 4 pi over 3. Where's 4 pi over 3? Right here. There we are. The sine is negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so that's what I'm going to plug in for sine of 4 pi over 3. So this is really the arc cosine of negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay. And now, when we look at the graph, where on the graph is the cosine negative? Well, cosine inverse is only in the top half, and cosine will be negative in the second quadrant. So that's where the negative square root of 3 over 2 is. And so that would be up here. I know I'm x'd it out, but I don't have room to redraw it. And so when x is negative square root of 3 over 2, that angle is, what angle would this be? It would be 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 6. Because remember, cosine inverse goes from 0 to 2 pi. Okay. All right, hopefully that wasn't confusing. Number 10, sine inverse of the cosine of pi over 2. So let's start with cosine of pi over 2. So that would be the x value at the pi over 2 angle. So pi over 2 is the 0.01, and the cosine is 0. So that means that this is the sine inverse of 0. Okay, sine is only in these two quadrants. Okay, and when the sine is 0, that would be at this point right here, because that is the 0.10. The y value is 0. Okay. So the sine of 0 radians is 0. And that was number 10. Number 11, what color am I on? I'm on the light blue. Is cosine of the sine inverse of 2/5. Okay, this is not on our unit circle, but because we need to use this to find the cosine, I have to drop a reference triangle. And this is a positive sine of 2/5, so I'm going to be in the first quadrant. And sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so the 2 would be opposite the angle, and the 5 would be the hypotenuse. We need to find this bottom side. So we'll call it A, so we'll have A squared plus 2 squared equals 5 squared. So A squared plus 4 equals 25. Subtract 4 from both sides, we get A squared equals 21. Hey, this feels familiar. And A is the square root of 21. So this is the square root of 21. Now I need to find the cosine of that. So the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the cosine is square root of 21 over 5. Hey, isn't that exactly what we had up above? Yeah, it is. Okay, I am on purple now, I think. Oh, no. The pink, I think, this pink. All right, number 12. Sine of the arc cosine of negative 1/3. Okay, again, this is not on our unit circle, but we know cosine is either in the first or second quadrant, the top half of the graph. So we know that it's in the second quadrant because cosine is negative. And cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so the adjacent side is -1, the hypotenuse is 3, and we need to find the vertical side there. So -1 squared, that looks weird. -1 squared plus, we'll call it B. B squared equals 3 squared. -1 squared is 1. Equals 9. Subtract 1 from both sides. B squared equals 8. Square root both sides. And when we reduce that square root, remember there's 8 is 4 times 2. The square root of 4 is 2, so 2 gets to come out, and the 2 is stuck inside. Okay, so that missing side there is 2 square root of 2. Okay, now we need to find the sine of that angle. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite would be 2 square root of 2 over the hypotenuse 3. So 2 square root of 2 over 3. And that's it. So I hope that helped. And that's it. Make sure you do your homework and upload it into the drive, and have a good one.